Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the Map Key, the short video series version of the World Map Podcast. If you want to find out more about the World Map Podcast and get your weekly dose of everything in this world that could be on the map in terms of gaming, comics, movies, TV, all your nerdery, go visit worldmapcast.com. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or Snapchat as @WorldMapcast. And you can download that full podcast every week on iTunes or Stitcher. But this is Map Key, the short version of the audio podcast where we do quick reviews, quick reactions about things that are going on in the world. And I just woke up from seeing Star Wars Episode VII, The Force Awakens, last night. Oh, wow. I had to sleep on it. I thought about doing this review last night. I wanted to sleep on it, make sure I wasn't just completely hyped before I shared my opinion on it. And I woke up and I still feel the same way that Star Wars The Force Awakens very well may be the best Star Wars movie in the entire franchise. I know that's saying a lot. I know the original trilogy has some great films. I know The Empire Strikes Back is well loved. I personally am a Return of the Jedi fan, a little more so. And those are both excellent, excellent films, and they're still very much on par with the pinnacle of the Star Wars universe. But Episode 7 takes all of the best parts of Star Wars and rolls them into one just moment after moment after moment. There's literally no pause in this movie. You're constantly pulled along from one thing happening to the next, and the 2 hours and 15 minutes runtime feels like 30 minutes, if that. It goes so quickly. Really, the most negative thing I have to say about the film is that it wasn't long enough. That I want Episode 8 right now, and I think that speaks to how good this film was. It takes everything Star Wars and just makes it better, puts a little polish on it, just brings out the heart and soul of Star Wars. It is the most Star Wars thing I've probably ever seen. It pulls in a lot of potential lore, some of it not yet fully explained in this film, but a lot of things alluded to for future explanation. But it pulls in a lot of lore and potential things that I think very hardcore Star Wars fans will pick up on and start to theorize about. And it's just going to be an agonizing wait until Episode 8 because of that. But the new characters are great. John Boyega and Daisy Ridley are amazing. The characters, Finn and Rey, are superb, very believable, very lovable. You instantly care about them, and the characters are actually they're. Even though the movie moves quickly, there's enough time taken to develop those characters well enough for you to feel like you know them, you care about them. Same thing with Poe Dameron. This film does a great job of setting up all the new characters, Kylo Ren, and really making you interested and intrigued and ready to immerse yourself in what this new Star Wars universe is like. And of course, Chewbacca's back, R2, 3PO. Again, I'm not going to spoil anything at all in this review, but all of the original cast are back in some form or fashion, pretty much. And it's just really, really great to see them again and to see how they play into this. And I think there was just the right amount of new mixed with old. This film feels very much like the original trilogy. It has that slightly darker, grittier feel to it that the original trilogy had, as opposed to that kind of flashier Old Republic feel that the prequels had. And it just feels like it was made as part of that original trilogy, made with that as its roots more so than the prequels felt. And it just truly fits into the Star Wars universe better. And I will just say, do everything you can to not be spoiled by this film before you go see it. Don't have it spoiled for you. There aren't what I would call jaw-dropping, unexpected twists and turns. Maybe would have been cool to have one or two of those in there. There were things that happened that I kind of thought could happen in the film, but definitely things that you're not going to immediately see coming. In that it's going to be really cool to experience completely unsullied, if you will, not having seen any spoilers at all. So definitely go into the film that way if you can. From the very first line on the scroll, as soon as the scroll starts, we get a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and the scroll starts coming up the screen. The very first sentence is a punch to the gut, and it sets the tone for the entire movie. And never has that scroll had such an impact on the film in any of the previous 6 films that I can think of. I don't feel like, it kind of sets up the story a little bit, but it never had such a profound impact as the first sentence in the scroll of this film made me say, "Oh, that's what this is about now." And it kind of took me by surprise, and it kind of blew me away and set the tone for really what this whole new trilogy is kind of going to be about. And so I found that really interesting. I really, really appreciate the way that the new and old characters are sort of, their stories are told in relation to one another. And I think it's a very intriguing setup for kind of how this First Order came to be and how these new enemies sort of found their way to the dark side and that sort of thing. It's a very intriguing setup, and it's a story that I think is going to play out in very interesting ways over the next couple of Star Wars films. There's a lot of action in this movie. There's a lot of action, but there's also it's not a Transformers film. There's plenty of storytelling and dialogue and character development, and just the right amount of action and special effects. And of course, all of that stuff is absolutely superb, and surprisingly a good amount of humor in this Star Wars film. And Star Wars has always had kind of those chuckle moments, and that's another reason this feels very much like Star Wars. But it felt almost a little punched up from some of the other films. The amount of humor in this, especially with Finn, with John Boyega's character, had some very funny moments, and so I appreciated that quite a bit. And then I think just the worlds and the set pieces used in this film, just absolutely stunning, taken up to another notch, to another level there. What did I dislike about the film? I can't really say that there are any major negatives, and the minor negatives that I have, I can't say without spoiling stuff. I'll say only that I would have liked to have seen a little more of certain characters. I would have liked to have learned a little more of the story, but it's more that this intrigued me so much and made me want to know so much more about this new Star Wars lore now that the old expanded universe is kind of gone and no longer canon. I now want to learn everything I can about this new Star Wars universe under the Disney guidance here. And so the minor negatives I have are just basically that I didn't get enough explanation on some things, and some things seem a little almost like minor plot holes. But I think that over the next couple of films, they'll probably be explained. So I kind of have to reserve judgment for several years until we find out whether they're explained or not. I think they probably will be. But if you're not super familiar with Star Wars lore, coming into this film, you may find that you feel a little lost in a couple of areas. And so I think that could have been done better. There could have been a couple things just explained slightly more in the film. But overall, as a lifelong Star Wars fan who loves everything Star Wars, the prequels a little less so, but I still appreciate them for what they are. And all the animated series and all of the many of the extended universe, both old and new, that I've partaken in. The Force Awakens is right there at the top of my list. So highly recommend you do whatever you can to get out there and see this movie. And interested to hear what people think, interested to hear your theories. So spoiler alert warning for the comments on this video. Don't read the comments unless you because my guess is there'll be some people commenting with potential spoilers. So, but feel free to comment below. We'll have a spoilery discussion in the comments. So warning for that. And be sure to listen in this week on the World Map Podcast. We'll talk a little bit more in the coming weeks about Star Wars as more and more people see it. And eventually we'll have a spoiler cast where we'll dive into some of the things that happened in more detail. But until then, may the Force be with you.